What the heck is your home worth in 2025? There's so many variables going on. We got the tariffs, we got interest rates, we got inflation, we got so many different things going on. Today's video, I'm going to be giving you a pretty simple strategy so that way you as a homeowner can be informed on what the market value potentially is on your home, or if you're looking to sell your property or in a situation where you need to do that this year. That way you have some insight into how a real estate professional like myself is going about pricing property in 2025. All right, so I actually perform what are called broker price opinions, or BPOs. They're essentially a form of a mini appraisal. I have my real estate license, and therefore my opinion can be used to provide insight into a potential property value. This is relevant for a bank that needs what the value of a foreclosure might look like. So I perform those, and I use that same criteria that the bank requires me to use in order to determine what a potential market value estimate of a home price is. So I am here local in the Dayton, Ohio area, Dayton and Cincinnati. If you are in either of those locations, I'm happy to review this information with you in person, so that way you don't have to do it all yourself. But in any case, I hope that you might find this information relevant no matter where you're at in the country. And again, this is just some insight or some behind the scenes into what your local real estate professional might be doing. So I'm booting up here. I am in what is called the multiple listing service. This is the tool that behind the scenes the real estate agents are using to upload listings. So anytime that you're getting ready to sell a property, this is where we're going to upload it into the system that then gets distributed across the internet. All the portals like Zillow, homes.com, realtor.com, all those things are populating data from your local MLS. So we use a system called Matrix here in the Dayton area, but depending on where you are in the country, it's going to be a little bit different. But just to highlight what I am doing anytime I'm pricing a property, and this is something that you can do as well, is we are going to be taking a look at the active properties. So the way I like to think about this is our active competition, correct? Or the things that are on the market right now. We want to take a look at what are under contract. So this is pending or under contract, same verbiage. I also personally like to look at the expireds. This is outside of what the bank recommends, but I personally like to look at this because this is homes that sat on the market and they never sold because they were listed for too much and no one ever bought. So I'd like to take a look at those. And then I also like to take a look at sold properties. These are the big ones that the bank is going to lean on. The bank likes to see at least 3 properties that sold in the past 180 days to a year. In this specific instance here in 2025, I really think you should be looking at things since the beginning of the year in January, just because we're going through a market shift right now and things are a little bit different than they were in the fall of 2024. With the tariff situation going on, the interest rates, inflation, all these different considerations, year-to-date sales are going to be very, very important. So I'm even going to, for the sake of this video, I'm going to even just filter by that just from the get-go. But just know that if you are in a situation, depending on the time that you're watching this video, you can potentially be looking back 6 months or a year. And that's what the bank is okay with, reviewing. So I'm going to click on January 2025. And I'm going to come to today, which is April 19th. I'm going to filter by that. In our situation, just so that way you're not confused, I don't look at withdrawn or terminated because those could be for any number of reasons. Oftentimes, if there's something happens like a major repair needed done on the house, sometimes they'll withdraw from the market so they can have that fixed. So I don't look at those because you just never know what the situation is behind the scenes on why they were taken down. For the sake of this video, I'm going to assume that you are a single family homeowner. But again, you could use the same logic to apply to if you were looking at a multifamily property. So I'm going to put in a specific address of a property that I have listed right now. It is active on the market. The bank likes to stay within a mile of the property. However, they are willing to go up to 3 miles on the property if there's not enough data to get those 3 sold like I mentioned before. But they like to stay as close as they can. So let's start with a mile. The bank also likes to stay within the same school district. We all know that school districts are important. So in this specific situation, I'm going to put in the Beaver Creek School District here. The bank also likes to match the floor plan. And what I mean by that is this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. So we want to try to match as best we can other 3-bedroom, 2 baths. The bank also likes to stay within a 15-year build window of the property. This house is built in 1948. I'm just going to use a round number of 1950. So I'm going to go back to 1935. And then 15 years afterward is going to be 1965. So I got that included in here. The bank also likes to stay within about 10% of the above grade square footage or the finished square footage space. Now, just keep in mind, if you have a basement that is unfinished or there's not a walkout, you're not going to have this space included in this initial estimate. There's just a little bit more context that's needed in that regard, because if it is finished and it has a walkout, you then could get that considered livable square footage depending on your state and your local jurisdictions. But in this case, for the called blanket terms, I'm going to say that this is above grade finished square footage. In our case, it's about 1,400 that we're looking at. Just to make it easy, I'm going to say 1,250 and then I'm going to just say about 1,650. Again, it's about 10%. It's not a hard line in the sand, but just so that way we're not looking at homes that are 3,000 square foot when we're 1,400. So I have all that criteria in there, and you can see that only brings us back 3 results so far. So we're going to need a little bit more than that. So I'm going to bump out the radius just a little bit further. Let's see what 2 miles looks like. We have 7, and then let's just compare what the 3 mile. This is the max that the bank is willing to do in a traditional suburban area. That does bring back 13. So let's take a look here. We got this full list of homes. And then if I were, for example, coming out to your property and giving you an estimate, which I am happy to do, you just have to text me. My phone number is 937-888-2099. You can text me and let me know that you would be interested in having me come out and do this for you. But I would put this together. I then pull up what we consider a comparative market analysis. This generates this report. Now, I know that when I immediately pull this up, you're probably like, oh my gosh, there's so many numbers. What are you even breaking down here? This doesn't even make sense. Please don't worry. This is my love language. I love all these numbers, but I understand that this might be overwhelming. Here's the way to think about this. These are the active properties. This is the one property that's currently under contract, as is this one. This one's pending what we call show for backup. So they're showing for backup offers. And then these are sold. So we have more than 3 sold, which is great. And then I know that, like I said, there's a lot of numbers here, but really let's focus on this last column, which is the sale price. These are what the homes actually sold for. So you can see that there's a range from about 265 all the way to 305. So when you take about the average, it comes out to about 282,500. Again, the average in the area was at 3.2, about 1,500 square feet, built in 57. Just something worth noting too. Again, I mentioned before that, we're here in 2025. It's a crazy, chaotic time. Just to point out that folks that listed their property, they started on average at about this 297 figure, and they actually ended up settling at around an average of 282, or about 97% of what they were asking for. So just something of note, if you are getting ready to sell a property, if you're thinking that you can stretch the market and try to push things, maybe you can, but just be ready in the case that maybe sometimes, depending on the buyer, depending on the property, that you may end up settling for less than what you think the home might be worth. So all in all, you can see that across the active, pending, and sold properties, the minimum here in our area sells for about 265. The max sold for about 305. And on average, they're selling about 282,500. So I hope this helps give you some insight into how to run a market analysis in your neighborhood. I could tell you as well, something that I personally do for my clients. If I'm coming out and meeting with you at the property, I would have that report that we just went through. Then I also have the 3-up comparison. This is just a little bit of a more user-friendly way to view things. You can see the one picture of each property that was on that same report, and then you can see their specific information per each property. So that way you can take a look at how my home compares to the condition and state of these other properties. And then you would take a look and you would make that determination. But I hope this is helpful for you to help you get some insight into what it takes to sell property here in 2025. Again, like I said, this would be something that I would be doing on your behalf if we were meeting in person, which again, I'm happy to do so. You can again text me. My phone number is 937-888-2099. Would love to come out. I do this for free. So, it doesn't cost you anything to have me come out and take a look at the property for you. But if we were getting ready to potentially sell your property, this is the process that I would be doing behind the scenes to get some insight into what the market has to say. Please feel free to reach out to me. My phone number is in the description. I'd love to connect with you here locally, or if you are in another location here in the US, I'm happy to get you connected with a local real estate professional, or just happy to hear your thoughts on how the tariffs are impacting you, or anything going on in the macro economy. Would love to just hear your perspective on what you're seeing boots on the ground. I look forward to talking with you soon. Stay safe out there, y'all. Peace.